So this is my colleague Divnesh, and I'm sorry that the others couldn't make it. They had classes and other issues. So the title of our chapter is TEduChain, a platform for crowdsourcing tertiary education funding using blockchain technology. So as you can see, TEduChain is a play on words, meaning tertiary education using blockchain. So this is the outline of our presentation. It will be very brief. So introduction. What is our chapter basically discussing in the book? It's basically discussing a platform that we developed for collecting or crowdsourcing funds for needy students to go through tertiary universities using blockchain. So this is a brief overview of our platform. As you can see, there are 3 parties involved in our platform. That's the student, the fundraiser, and the sponsor. They're discussed in depth in the chapter. So this is how our platform basically works. A student submits an application for funding. The platform checks the student's eligibility. Then fundraisers publish the list of students. Sponsors or investors fund the students. And the fundraiser, who is able to secure all the funding for a student first, is able to add a student to the chain. Then the winner creates a contract among the students and the sponsor and distributes it to the rest of the community or the network. So what is blockchain? So most of you might be thinking blockchain is Bitcoin. No, it's not. Blockchain is basically a encrypted open ledger that manages transactions. So why did we use blockchain in our platform rather than using a traditional transaction of collecting funds through banks and other means? Basically to save time, access, and also have transparency. So using blockchain, we won't need other organizations. Our network will be able to do all these activities by itself, and it will be fully transparent. Our business model, which is discussed in the chapter, is that the fundraiser manages the students. By that, I mean they raise funds for the students, and also when the student is done, they perform repayments on behalf of the students. And the sponsor or the investor receives interests based on their contract. So what was the inspiration for our project? First of all, it was the SDG goals, the 4th goal to be precise, quality education for all, to provide financially underprivileged students to get the opportunity to study at tertiary universities. And also to ensure that a secure and transparent system was in place for this crowdsourcing project. And this project would be ideal platform for non-profitable organizations who want to work in the education sector. The results of our project, our prototype was successful, and we managed to have a publication in the 3rd Symposium of the Distributed Ledger Technology in 2018. Some challenges that we faced. I'd like to hand it over to Divnesh to discuss this.
Thank you, Sarvesh. So some of the challenges that the group faced while building the prototype was that blockchain is a very new technology, and therefore there are very few resources regarding the explanation of how blockchain works, and there were also time constraints whereby we had a limited time to build the prototype. Moving on, our future plan is to expand the project, meaning our prototype, to a national stage, and hopefully publish our work so that students can take advantage of it. Conclusion, so blockchain is not something just for monetary purposes. It's also can be used for education, it can be used for supply chain and other industries as well. Thank you. Oh, and I'd like to acknowledge, my bad, I'd like to acknowledge the Center of Flexible Learning, division of the University of the South Pacific, for funding the project. Thank you.
great, wonderful. Thank you very much. You know, while I was sitting there listening to all these presentations, you know, what struck me is with such a small amount of money, well, you know, yeah, a small amount of money it is, how much synergy and energy you can generate. And it's great to see, you know, students and staff coming together, even though the numbers are small here, but presenting their work and presenting the challenges and pushing the boundaries, which is what we were trying to do. You know, breaking down walls between and among staff members and students, and pushing boundaries in the area of teaching and learning with technology. We know where the challenges are, of course, yeah. They're not very different in the other parts of the world. But there are lots of opportunities as well. And I want to put on record for senior management that, you know, with a small amount of money, around $200,000 or $300,000, if you can do it well, you can really make a lot of progress. And the products of this are now for you to see and to take further from here into bigger and better things. So I want to put on record our appreciation for the senior management team for making this money available. Now we just got a few more things, and lunch is waiting, so don't run away. There's going to be some exciting food and other things available after this. But before we do that, I want to invite the Pro-Chancellor to offer some reflection, since he has been patiently sitting there listening to the good stories. Thank you, sir. Come on. He's a tall man, so I'm going to show you.
Thank you, Som. I've not been waiting patiently. I've been fascinated by the presentations that have been made. I went to university in 1958. I think most of you were probably not born then. And what I hear today of university practices and possibilities was not even anywhere on the horizon back in those days. And so since my association with the university over the last 4 years, and I attended the presentation, the last one, I was then completely impressed with the possibilities for enhancing the experience of our learning community, not just students, but everyone else who wants to be in that sort of mode. So I'd like to congratulate the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Som Naidu, and all of you who have been involved in this set of studies that have been presented today. I fully believe that technology has to be enlisted as much as possible. And I've heard criticisms about the limitations of technology. And I think from what I've heard today, the limitations are only as far as our imagination will take us. And if we don't have sufficient imagination to push all the boundaries, then we're not going to progress as quickly as we can and give the experience to those who wish to learn and improve themselves all of the possibilities that technology can bring. There is a limitation in our region because of the lack of speed in our internet system. And so I would imagine that everyone should be trying to improve those facilities so that the experience can be common throughout our region. So again, I thank you for giving me this opportunity, Som, to be here and listen, as I said, fascinated to the things that are possible. And to congratulate all of you for the very, I think, groundbreaking way that you have approached these issues that you have had to deal with. And I am very hopeful that we will be progressing, and I'm very confident that the future will be there. And certainly as far as the Council is concerned, one of our prime responsibilities is to ensure that the best practices are introduced to make learning throughout our region as improved as much as possible. So thank you again, and congratulations.
All right, it is my pleasure now. I've got to turn this mic down a little bit. Okay, to invite Deputy Vice Chancellor Jito, would I like to make his remarks, and then we are with the and formally launch the book. Jito.
The Pro-Chancellor, Winston Thompson, Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the Center for Flexible Learning, Professor Som Prakash, colleagues of my apology, Som Naidu, my sincere apology. Som Prakash was my former colleague a long time ago, but my apology once again. And colleagues from CFL, the distinguished guests, fellow contributors and authors, and the staff and students of USP. It is indeed my pleasure, and I'm honored here to be present here today to launch this open access publication, Teaching and Learning with Technology, Pushing Boundaries and Breaking Down Walls. And it's only fitting that it's launched today. I'm glad to say that I played a little bit of role in that when I was the Director of Research last year. I was so busy making sure that the ethical considerations would, the process of that took place. And those are the research that, that we carried out. And we spent almost 2-3 months looking at all the ethics application. But I must say that the research that were proposed was some of the best ones that ever come out in the history of CFL. And for that, in fact, those are some of the first sets of research conducted by another entity outside of academic sections. And so for that, I would like to congratulate you, Som, for managing to get together our staff and our students who are involved with flexible learning and getting ideas and putting them on paper and doing actual research work. And that is admirable. And the output is now what you see in the book that you have. Yes, indeed, it is admirable. Congratulations. Now, Professor Richard Cole coins it very well in the foreword of the publication when he wrote that, that it is not uncommon for modern universities to operate multiple campuses in multiple geographical locations internationally. However, USP is unusual in its structure, demographics, location, and stakeholder base, and is one of only 3 genuinely regional universities. Now, from the onset, the university has provided face-to-face and distance education. The last decade has been a shift from more traditional models of distance education, exemplified by print modes of learning where students are sent hard copies of workbooks and supported by, at that time, a unique satellite tutorial system, to a genuine flexible mode of learning more recently that is characterized by substantial online and blended learning modes. I remember when I joined the university in 1994, and what we did those years was just print mode. And I would have someone from DFL, we called DFL those days, to sit beside me and then I'll provide the content, and he or she just basically cover those contents with the cover of the book and the back book and put their names on it. Those were the simple ways of doing print mode. But but today, now we witness the kind of things, the technologies that we have to enhance the provisions of online learning. It's so different from those days. Now, the genesis of this book lies in the long-standing commitment by USP to do its utmost to provide high-quality tertiary education to our diverse student body. Now, just to give you an idea of the status of the number of courses that we have developed online, the university recently completed its strategic plan 2013-2018, signaled the challenges and ambitions facing the university. This plan stipulated that the university would, by its completion in 2018, ensure that 30% of its undergraduate programs would be available online and 60% of the undergraduate programs offered via flexible modes. I'm glad to say that these targets were achieved with a substantial investment in infrastructure and professional development support provided by the Center for Flexible Learning. And again, thank you, Som, for your leadership in achieving these targets. I acknowledge and again congratulate Professor Som Naidu and his team for their dedication, hard work, and the scholarship of teaching that they showcase in this important work. The book is remarkable in the diversity of its topics, testament to the complexity of the environment in which USP operates, but also to the enabling opportunities modern technologies provide to tertiary institutions. I'm sure that it will be of great interest to the various stakeholders from member countries of USP and to educators and scholars working in complex and diverse educational environments. So ladies and gentlemen, with those words, it gives me great pleasure to officially launch the publication. And thank you.
Thank you, DVC. Just before we formally launch the book, I want to add my thanks to a whole bunch of people. I heard my name mentioned a lot of time. It's a bit embarrassing because I did very little, as a matter of fact. You know, there's a lot of people who did a lot of work. When we received the funding for the initiative, Flora was working with us, and it's good to see Flora, who is now working at FNU, made all the way from Nisino, if that's where you are, to be with us. Thank you very much for coming, because she was initially leading the project, doing the legwork. And then Sarishna, who joined later, carried on from her. So there's a lot of people who work behind the scenes within CFL. It's amazing. We were just wondering, when you look at a book like that and you think, my God, you know, amount of work that has gone into putting that together is unbelievable. And but it's also a learning experience for a lot of us, and I think we're all very proud to see the project come to this point, and I hope that SMT is going to be happy with the work that we have done, and willing to support the furtherance of that work. But before we do invite the Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor and the Deputy Vice-Chancellor to launch the book, I want to ask Sarishna to offer a formal vote of thanks to all the people involved in the project.
Thank you. Good afternoon, esteemed guests. On behalf of the Center for Flexible Learning, it is a privilege and an honor for me to be able to give the vote of thanks this afternoon. I would like to start by thanking every single one of our guests who have taken out their time from their busy schedules to attend this book launch. Thank you very much. This book is the product of the collective effort of many people. I can only begin to thank some of them here, and I apologize in advance to those I may not be able to name specifically. I'd like to start by thanking the University of the South Pacific and our former Deputy Vice Chancellor Education, Professor Richard Cole, for supporting this work. I would like to also thank our acting Deputy Vice Chancellor Education, Professor Chito Vanwalailai, and the Research Office for their guidance and support towards the implementation of the projects. I would like to acknowledge the contributions of Professor Som Naidu, Pro Vice Chancellor Flexible Learning and Director, Center for Flexible Learning, for spearheading the Technology Enhanced Learning Initiative, and for serving as one of the main internal editors of the book. My sincere gratitude goes to the chapter's authors who contributed their time and expertise to this book. Without your contributions, this book would not have been a reality. Special acknowledgement goes to the hardworking team at the Center for Flexible Learning, who has assisted us in getting this book from its genesis through to publication. In no particular order of importance, I would like to thank Mrs. Sarah Rokondi, Mrs. Serema Remua, Ms. Pranita Singh, Mrs. Miliakere Koro, Ms. Ethel Achesan, Mrs. Sarome Sito, Mrs. Sanita Dow, Mrs. Kitiana Molikula, Mr. Evan Nangyolevu, Mr. Joshua Handyside, Mr. Eparama Rokoreite, Mr. Lasarusa, Danu Vakayanuyanu, Mr. Deepak Bhartu, Mr. Navitalai Halofaki, Mr. Clarence Das, Mr. Michael Light, Mr. Dheeraj Bhartu, and late Mr. Ronald Filitonga. Lastly, I wish to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of Antonina Petrolito towards reviewing the manuscripts and making useful recommendations that led to several changes and additions in various chapters. I hope you enjoy reading the book. Thank you.
Can I request the Pro-Chancellor and Deputy Vice-Chancellor to join Professor Som Naidu in officially launching the publication? And after that, I would like to invite all the authors to grace the stage and get a copy of the book, and also for an opportunity for photos. And at the same time, I also would like to invite members from the audience to say, if you'd like to come and have a photo with the authors, please feel free to do so. And then once you are done, then we have food outside. Thank you once again for taking your time out and making yourself available for the book launch.